Yeah, so we're here at Venture Christian Church in Carmel. This church we used to go to when we lived in Carmel. And they still want us to till their garden, so we're happy with that. So today's our first day of tilling. We've actually already tilled one garden, and it was a little bit wet, and we realized it was a good time to maybe repeat how to kind of tell if it's dry enough to till. Oh, first here's a big, here, I'll throw this to you, Christy.
Nail.
Yeah, I'll throw that nail at her. That's a pretty good idea, right?
Yeah.
You can't just tell by looking on top. You really need to dig down a couple of inches. I've got a pair of pliers here. I usually use a screwdriver, but I don't have one handy. Just dig down a couple inches like that. Basically the full till depth, right? That's how far you need to go down. You need to take that dirt, that soil, and see if it'll crumb like this. If you're able to crumb it up, it's going to be fine. If there's no way to make it crumb except for making a mud ball, then you're probably still a little bit wet. And you say, yeah, but I really want my garden tilled today. Well, if we till it wet, you'll end up with a bunch of clods as it dries out, bunch of just big clumps of dirt that'll be difficult to work with in your garden. So it's best to wait until it's dry enough. But it's good here, Christy. It's a lot better than our swamp in Lebanon.
Yeah.
We tilled this garden last season, but it was fairly late in the season, so they never got around to planting it. Sometime after we tilled it last year, they covered it with a tarp. That explains the stake we found earlier. We actually found several more little steel stakes just like that. We also found several rocks that were probably, well, double the size of my fist, close to the size of my head. Even with all this covering, I believe the tarp had mostly blown off sometime in the winter. Only this far end, where I'm working now, had remained covered. I believe they finally removed the tarp just a few days before this tilling. I'm sharing this background because that far end is incredibly wet. The rest of the garden here is ready to go, but that far end is way too muddy to be tilling. It's kind of hard to know what to do in that situation. There was rain in the forecast, so I decided to go ahead and till it. The rain should take care of those mud balls that I dig up on the other end. I have the benefit of hindsight as I tell you this. It did indeed rain, and as of this airing, I doubt that they've got the garden planted yet. We actually brought in a load of topsoil for this garden. You've seen how good our soil is here, so you would think that wouldn't be necessary. However, there's been a lot of construction at the church over the years, and, well, the original topsoil is just gone. We spread this load of topsoil with our front end loader before our original tilling last season. We wheeled in there one evening at almost dark, so it was really too late to get any good video, so you won't get to see that. Sorry. Real quick, you might have noticed the ROPS rack pack. Right now I've got my hammer hung in it. Get 5% off your entire order at bigtoolrack.com with coupon code TTWT.
That was easy.
Yep. You're just going to hit it once?
I think I'm just going to hit it once, and there's a couple reasons for that. First, we tilled this late last summer. They just brought in some extra soil and we leveled it out. So that's one reason that it really doesn't need two trips. It didn't have any weeds growing in it per se. The other reason is that the far end is quite wet. I believe there was a tarp over it. That's not something that I recommend for a garden. If you do put a tarp over it in the winter, make sure you get that off early in the spring so that it can dry. Long before you really think it's ready to till, you got to get that tarp off of there because it doesn't allow it to dry. It keeps the moisture in, doesn't let the sun get to it. You know, I just don't recommend that approach. I suppose some people do it to try to keep the weeds down, but I'm not a fan. And so on the far end, it's just too wet. Now we've got a rain coming, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. Even a quarter of an inch would soften some of those clods down there and it'll be ready to go, but yeah, it's not perfect. Garden number 2 for the year. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.
Looks like to me Tim's trying to clean off his tires like the drivers do at NASCAR. Not sure it works for a tractor.